On the 30th March 2023, Wanep organized a roundtable meeting on how women can develop their potential in technology in line with the annual celebration of Women Month to let the world know the importance of their development in the country, most especially their peace and security. Therefore, this year's celebration focuses on how women can use technology to enhance their development and for the benefit of the nation and the world at large.
We try, instead of trying to put ourselves in an ignorant space, why don't we give exposure? So if you listen to even our group, in our presentation, I mentioned that we should teach our words the safer side of the internet. We can't say we will not introduce them into it, and we can't say we always want to monitor them, but rather teach them the safer side of it. And even for them to understand that these are some of the things that will pop out. But immediately they pop out, this and this are the steps that I want you to take. Once you stand it yourself, or even report it to me, or even your dad, or anybody around you. And that is when we have the full confidence. So we should teach them the safer side. Of course, there may be negatives attached. But when they understand more of the safer side as to how best, even as we are, we can even use technology, make money for ourselves. Then we'll
in this period, in March, we do celebrate the Women's Month, or this is a special period that we actually try to let the world know the importance of women in the development of our countries and the world as well, and also specifically talk about women, peace, and security. And so this year the theme is based on how women can use technology to also enhance the development of themselves and also their organizations and their nations and the world at large. So that is why we from Wanep put it on ourselves to also involve not only women but women groups and the youth. We want to actually bridge the gap between the youth and women, because if you look at the challenges of the youth and you look at the challenges of women, they have similar gaps. And so we don't want to isolate the needs and answering for the needs for the women and also answering for the needs of the youth. We also want to create a situation where we have this intergenerational gap being filled, so that while the older generation is leaving behind, the younger generation will pick it up, and so that they become the leaders of today and not the leaders of tomorrow, as people used to say. So the importance of this is to ensure that we have awareness creation around how women and youth can use the digital world to improve themselves in the first place, improve their organizations and their groups, and then improve their nations wherever they find themselves. When the parent is not digitally knowledgeable, it is very difficult for that parent to be able to even understand what digital is all about and what bullying is about on the internet. So first, there's a need for all parents to be aware of how technology can also bring about bullying of their children. And once they are aware, they can then guide their children to fight against bullying, or maybe be sure that there might be some people who will be on the internet and might want to bully them, and how they can actually go ahead and report such people. They need to know that even in Ghana, there's a cyber security law that anybody who is doing that can be reported to the police, and that person can be taken up to the law and maybe in prison or punished as the law may prescribe. So, but first, the parents need to educate themselves. It is only after they know that there's this thing that is happening on the net, that their children may be bullied, that their children may learn very bad things on the internet, that their children may be influenced even to take to terrorism or join extremist groups, then they can then impart that knowledge into their kids. Our main issue today is to ensure that all stakeholders, youth groups, women's groups, the state, CSOs, state agencies, and even intergovernmental agencies know that we have a duty to educate our populace. We have a duty to ensure that everybody in our countries across West Africa especially understand that the internet has come, digitalization has come, technology has come to improve our well-being, not to actually destroy us. So we must also be aware that we can actually let people know that there are also people who are on the net trying to use the net to destroy people, to actually influence people to do the bad thing. So it is our duty to educate our populace. It's our duty to arm our populace with the education that they will need to be able to champion the cause of digitalization in a good way and not in a bad way. And it's also our duty to fund some of the training courses that will enhance the knowledge of our women and youth in how they can use the digital world to enhance themselves, enhance their situation, enhance their organizations, and also enhance their community.
Some parents too, here in Africa, we never say it's the right of the child. I used to have a lot of issues with some parents. Child's rights. I was one of those that advocated for child's rights anyway. But child's rights, the responsibilities. We keep on talking about rights. What about the responsibilities? Where does my responsibility as a parent come in the right of that my child? So there are all these kind of things. So these are the things, the challenges of this digital technology that has further oppressed women. The issue of spouses or partners checking their partner's phones, cloning their husband's phones. All these things affect our mentality, affect our psychology. It makes the woman not to be able to reach her full potential. She will now become a shadow of herself. She cannot engage in all these. Today's event is that you want it to be widely publicized. You want visibility. That's why we brought in the media, because we are our partners in progress. It is you people that is going to take this message far and wide. So that is our expectation. In fact, we had really wanted to have a press release immediately after this so that it can go viral. But we're still working on the press release, we'll still share it. So we will hope that the message, that all the things, the recommendations that came out from today's meeting, that when you publicize it, the key stakeholders concerned will know. Some things we are saying that government should do, some things civil society should do. There are things that we say parents should do. And there are also things that even the children themselves, or the adults, or the teenagers have a responsibility to do. So those are contained in the recommendations, and those recommendations we want it to be disseminated. What we do is what we always do, because this is not a one-off thing. Whatever we do is it builds onto something and builds onto something. First of all, if you look at the mix of this meeting, there were a generational mix. So we had the Gen Zs and the Gen X, and we had women, youths, girls. It was deliberate. The idea is that because one, we believe in gender parity. We believe that for us to achieve gender parity, we cannot do it alone, and we cannot also work with only the women. We need the men to support every gender action that we take. It is the men as allies, working with us as allies, that can even champion the gender, our quest for gender parity. So that was the whole essence of this. Another mandate of even the Women, Peace and Security Agenda of Wanep is to bridge the intergenerational divide. I mean, we want this message to continue over time, so that when the older generation, as they age and move out, the younger ones fill in that gap and continue to propagate the message. Now, somebody might ask, we have been propagating this message, it hasn't taken root. Some messages take a long time to take root. And also, once you continue to propagate it, it continues to remain in the consciousness of the public. And that is where the change occurs. But if it is not in people's consciousness, if we say because we have done it, let us also not forget the fact that when you take one step progress, there's always some drawbacks. For instance, we are making progress and then COVID-19 hit. And when COVID-19 came, a lot of hindrances happened. A lot of backwardness happened. So if we relent in propagating these messages, we have lost some of the things that we gained before COVID-19. And we cannot also claim that everything will now be normal because COVID-19 has abated. Don't even forget that it still resurfaced in China. But other emerging things can happen to affect progress made. That is why Wanep will continue to propagate this message. We young people should even educate us on the bullying, but we do know that it is a reality. We know that cyberbullying is a reality, whether we like it or not. When I go even on the social media sometimes also, because in the nature of my work, I need social media. These messages, I need to propagate them on social media. I need wide reach, wide coverage. The meeting that we had today, if we didn't disseminate invitations on social media, probably we might not have the kind of audience that we had. So cyberbullying is real. We read every day of young girls being killed by their boyfriends. We read every day of women dying from domestic violence. We read every day how men are stifling their wives, not allowing them access to their own phones that they are using. They have to monitor what they do. They have to, so they cut their freedom. So this bullying is real and we really need to tackle it. People have talked about having policies and guidelines enforced by the government, not just to have them there. We have too many legislations in this country and even in Africa as a whole. We have lots of legislations, but how do we implement those legislations? What are the sanctions for those who fall short of those legislations? So those things need to really be enforced, and that means we need political commitment. Government has to commit to that. They have to. Cyber law is there, but how do we engage with the cyber law? What is the awareness? What is the sensitization? How many people really know that there is a cyber law in Ghana? How many people know that it was launched in October 2020? So it's pretty new, but a lot of people need to know it. So what about the National Civic Education Center, for instance? These are some of the things that they need also to educate the public about. They need to create awareness. The media, both broadcast media and the print media, they need to also raise awareness. As journalists, you people need to raise awareness on these issues. That there is a law called cyber law. These are the provisions of the law. This is how a victim can access the law and use it to achieve justice.
Thank you for watching Nation One TV. Kindly subscribe for more news updates.